2022 had its fair share of crazy and dramatic moments in almost all fields of life, but we think that pro cycling topped the list with the highest number of such moments. From Visma's assault to Vleuten's world title, when we look back at the pro cycling year, there's so much that could leave us in shock. In this video, we'll discuss the most dramatic pro cycling moments in 2022. Let's get started. First off, we have the time when Mohoric destroyed cycling.
Mohoric making all sorts of moves.
Not quite literally, but Tadej Mohoric did actually tell the truth when the pro cyclist said that he once destroyed cycling with Supertuck, and now he did the same thing again. After all, with success on his hands, he definitely did pull off a whole heist at the Milan San Remo, and a little celebration was understandable. Even though throughout the build-up, Slovenian Tadej Pogačar dominated Strada Bianca and Tirreno Adriatico. In fact, all the talks were about him and his winning potential. But then something seriously dramatic happened as Mohoric took over the race all of a sudden, surging all up to the front and swooping with the iconic display of white knuckles. He really made it out amazingly. This was a rare sight, because apparently no one has been able to pull a stunt like that since Sean Kelly stuck Moreno Argentine into San Remo about 30 years ago. Mohoric enjoyed great balance because of the cutting-edge technology to aid him. The technology in question was Fox's MTV-style dropper seat post, allowing the cyclist to sit between 50 and 70 millimeters lower on the descent. While talking about it, the pro cyclist stated that he was going to the race favorites and was definitely showing off the dropper. According to the cyclist, he had warned them all that if they followed him on the descent, it'd be at their own risk. But imagine if he had crashed. The whole dramatic moment would have turned into a meme. Well, it didn't, and he definitely made a mark.
The emotion clear on the face of Matej Mohoric, already a stage winner at the Giro and the Vuelta.
Next up, let's talk about the summit drama at Tour de Suisse.
Bingham was fired on the 85th edition of the Tour de Suisse.
Cycling is a heck of a sport, and it comes with a lot of drama. The same happened at Tour de Suisse. If someone were to ask us, we'd even call it the most dramatic conclusion in the whole season, and Lucinda Brand raced head-to-head to win the Stage 4 finale. A difference of mere seconds, and one of them was to take up the title. Faulkner, by that time, had already won the Stage 2 trial, and succeeded in keeping up the lead throughout Stage 3 as well. The same happened for her on the final day, too. While everyone was all in to see the race come down to the final 6-kilometer climb at Lynch. Well, that's when Brand entered the scene and climbed out front in a breakaway, but her efforts didn't help in front of what we'd call a remarkable performance from Faulkner. After all, she was fast enough to cover the gap perfectly just outside the final kilometer. But right when we thought she'd take the win, Faulkner slipped and hit the pavement, ultimately losing it to Brand. It sure was a dramatic moment in this year's pro cycling. Up next, we have the tense tussle between Jai Hindley and Richard Carapaz.
Carapaz is dropping down the standings. It should be enough to hold on for second place. At the moment,
Giro d'Italia was all about suspense for 3 weeks, but the drama was what fans were missing. Well, they understood the assignment, and boom, there was a lot of drama suddenly. Hindley and Carapaz and their tussle for the win were what reminded everyone of the 2003 Champions League final moments between Juventus and AC Milan. The technical ability of both athletes put them in a place where there was little hope for the deadlock to be broken. Hindley was at the penultimate stage and just 3 seconds behind Carapaz. For the second stage, the two ended the race almost at the same time in Budapest, and on the final weekend of the race as well. Only the time bonuses created a bit of a difference in the overall standings. Now with these two doing the same thing again and again, someone had to go down for the other to win. Well, it's exactly what happened at the last mountain pass about 5.5 kilometers from the top of Fadaya. While passing the area called Malga Chapula, the road straightened, the air grew thinner, and the gradient stiffened. And for the next 3 kilometers, there was nothing to provide any distractions either. Hindley picked up the speed and left everyone else behind. Now the Giro was his. After winning, the cyclist said that he knew he had one bullet, and if he fired, he had to make it count. Well, he definitely did it right.
Heading into the final kilometer.
Look at the pedal stroke of Carapaz. There's no doubt he's feeling good today.
Following up, Van Vleuten won with a broken elbow.
So incredible! Kopecky that leads them into the square. Van Vleuten, is she vanquished now?
Did you think there was nothing more dramatic than Hindley winning the race? Well, brace yourselves, because we're going to remind you of the time when Van Vleuten won worlds with a broken elbow. The 2022 UCI Road World Championship championships in Wollongong had a lot of stuff going on, from Zoe Backstedt dominating the junior women's event to Van Vleuten's broken elbow not stopping her from winning the race. Everything is genuinely dramatic. Just 3 days before she participated in the race, Vleuten had broken her elbow, but it didn't stop her from marking a stunning victory in the elite women's road race. The race seemed like it'll come down to a small sprint of 13 riders, but Vleuten was thinking differently as she ambushed all her rivals in the final kilometer and soared away to claim a solo win. And her victory will be marked in cycling history as her elbow wasn't in good shape during the race. Not to mention her love for the sport and happiness were quite prominent in the final line photo. She herself was surprised by this win. After all, no one with a broken arm would have ever thought of doing so. While talking about it, she said she was still waiting for someone to say it wasn't true. She also stated that she had a completely different plan before this, and that she was just a domestique with an injury, but now she's a world champion.
Hobby star Van Vleuten, though, blitzed past Mavi Garcia, who tried everything that she could to...
Oh, and how could we forget Uttrup Ludwig's dramatic win at Tour de France Femmes?
Uttrup Ludwig in the Danish champions jersey. After a day of disaster yesterday, it's going to be victory.
From the Eiffel Tower to the summit finish stop Tour de France Femmes was no less than a whole drama. But if we were to talk about the most dramatic thing that happened during the entire tour, we'll highlight Cecilie Uttrup's awe-inspiring victory on stage 3, especially after the start of the race was just amazingly disastrous. Watching the Danish cyclist come from 5 wheels in a monster sprint up the Mort de Huysques and then passing Vos, Kasia, Ashley, and Elisa was in fact the biggest win of her career. After the victory, the pro cyclist talked about it with the media and said, to actually do it and a Tour de France stage winner in this jersey, oh my god, it just doesn't get better. What victory, man. Well, we can understand how many emotions were flowing through her entire body at that time. Last but not least, Kopecky's perfect win at Strade Bianche. Lottie Kopecky is probably the only pro cyclist who has lived up to every expectation fans have of her. Throughout the finale, she found herself off the front of the peloton at Strade Bianche a total of 3 times, and 2 out of these 3 times, Van Vleuten was riding along with her. Not to mention, Vleuten is the only one to win the race twice. Side by side, the two passed through the streets of Siena and unleashed their sprints, while Kopecky flew through the final corner to edge out the Movistar rider in the last 100 meters. After winning the race, Kopecky was so happy and excited that she collapsed right in front of the Italian crowds to watch the race. No wonder she collapsed. After all, it was a huge victory for her. While discussing the matter, she said that it was impossible to be confident enough, but she had a good feeling about it that day. Not just that, she also said that she knew that the person she needed to follow was Annemiek, but at first, she had to let her go a bit. She further explained that she had no idea what exactly happened in her head, but she kept going, and finally when they turned right, she decided to pass her. But then again, Annemiek passed her, and she did the same once again. The champion concluded that the last sprint finally brought her victory, and that it's amazing to win this race. Not to mention, Vleuten also talked about this win. Vleuten also talked about this and said that she was really strong that day, but the last corner was where it became a bit tricky. But she also believed that she didn't do anything wrong. It was just a hard corner to take. She further said that when one comes with such speed, it's definitely a sprint, but she wasn't going to hit the brake, and neither was Kopecky going to do so. All in all, it was most definitely a wonderful moment to watch. And with this, it's time for us to wrap it up, fam. What do you think about this video? Do let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We'll be back with more amazing videos soon. See you in the next one.